I don't know if that's the case or not, but let me see this. Oh, I think I know what that is. Let me just double check. Yep, I figured that's what it was. Alright. Then checking some other things here. A green screen thing, the lighting. Hopefully that's better. Better lighting there. And what's this? Oh, special effects too. Well, let's see what this does. that's cool. Well, let's not do that. Alright, let's look at that. Alright. Alright, so I'm trying to find a better way to do this. Just to see from here. I don't know if I can try to do this. Let me see. Oh, not that matters. So, I guess this is the best way I can do it. Like this, I guess. Let me just push it a little further. Alright, that should be good enough. Alright, folks. It's been a while. Welcome to me doing one of these things. But since I didn't do a Raw on Netflix, watch along, which I figured I wasn't going to. In case I didn't, this is the best way for me to do it. So, welcome everyone to where it's been a while. I can't remember the last time I did one of these things. Welcome to doing a Raw review. Now, it will still be part of the Raw review playlist, so I will still do that. But this will be your Raw on Netflix review, the show from March 22nd, 2023. March 23rd of 2026. So, WrestleMania. I thought it was the March 22nd. That's why. But that was yesterday. That was last night. So this is March 23rd of 2026. Not not 2023. So yeah. We're live, pal. But nevertheless, we're here, folks, for WWE RAW on Netflix from March 23rd, 2026. And a lot has happened on the show, but not too much happened on the show. And we're going to go through everything that happened on the show here. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So, I'm going to skip through everything that they did when it comes to who came into the building and all that, because that's boring. But they were in Boston, Massachusetts, in the TD Garden. And Michael Cole and Corey Graves were your commentators for the show. And they opened up with a video package. What happened with Femi attacking Brock Lesnar. The whole teasing that they were going to get Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar going into WrestleMania, which that wasn't the case at all from last week. So this week, they did a little different here when it comes to the follow-up here. So we have Brock Lesnar coming out with Paul Heyman, and Brock just got a new T-shirt that's called FAF5 because of what happened last week with Paul Heyman saying FAF5. So Paul Heyman coming out, let everyone know about Brock Lesnar's resume, being an NCAA champion, a UFC champion, and also being WWE heavyweight champion. And also we think about it too with Brock Lesnar. So far, since since debut back in 2002, and then leaving the company, basically leaving wrestling in general in a way, consider WWE, and coming back to WWE in 2012, he has captured 10 championship titles in WWE. And if you count the Universal title, whatever. But when it comes to the world title, the prestige world title in WWE, when it comes to going back to the days of Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Bob Backlund, Iron Sheik, Eddie Guerrero, JBL, John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ric Flair, you name them. Every last one of them. And Brock Lesnar has captured, those championship goals. So, but basically, Paul Heyman talks about that the main event of WrestleMania is Brock Lesnar. So, according to Paul Heyman saying this, when it comes to Brock Lesnar, because he's been saying this, since coming back to the company. Any match that Brock Lesnar is, and basically any match that Brock Lesnar is going to be in WrestleMania is the main event. So, according to that logic, Dean Ambrose has main event WrestleMania. Seth Rollins, even though it was opening up the show, has main event WrestleMania. Who else could you put in there? Oh, Omos. If you remember, that match with Omos and Brock Lesnar. Omos main event WrestleMania. Who else could you put in there? Goldberg main event WrestleMania. Remember that match, where it was supposed to be for the Universal Championship? For that main event at WrestleMania at 33, and they decided to change it for to be Roman and Undertaker instead. And who else could we put in there? Well, I would say Triple H, but they always get Triple H main events no matter what, even though they're boring main events. But nevertheless, yeah, that's pretty much. I guess almost pretty much it there when it comes to it. But nevertheless. But that's the point I'm making here, because point I'm making this logic with him being this nickname, the nickname I should say, the nickname I should say, when it comes to Brock Lesnar being the main event of WrestleMania. Besides him being the Beast, the Conqueror, and the Ultimate Farmer that we always call him by, because he's Cowboy Brock. So, but yeah. But back to this whole thing with Obafemi. Obafemi is overhyped, overrated, according to Paul Heyman here. And because of Obafemi, taking out Brock Lesnar last week, it only happened because of a distraction of Seth freaking Rollins. Which I don't think he's going by that anymore, by the way, because there's a new persona he's doing now, when it comes to him being a masked hooded man. So I think he's just going by Seth Rollins, and then also with his the streak of hair that he used to have, it's now fading away. So I don't know what this character supposed to be about Seth Rollins, what it's going to be about. Besides the whole thing with the whole masked men, the putties, But that's basically Seth Rollins' new character now. It's like they always give Seth Rollins these different type of characters they just gonna try to get over, and see if it sticks. So, but Paul Heyman says, comes to Obafemi, that he's going to be victimized and conquered. And also, I need to mention too, that when it comes to Brock Lesnar facing guys like Goldberg, Braun Strowman, Dean Ambrose, which that got popped from the crowds, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, and John Cena. Basically, when it comes to these guys' names, that Brock Lesnar has taken care of those guys in the past, which he has. Now, I don't remember if Brock Lesnar has beaten Bobby Lashley straight up, because I remember Lashley being Lashley being Brock Lesnar. I was gonna say Roman Reigns, but that never happened. So, but nevertheless, we had Brock Lesnar taking care of these guys in the past, and when it comes to dominate them in a shape or form. And with that being said, after promising all that, Obafemi comes out. The lights goes out, the music plays, it comes back on. With Obafemi doing his thing, and then Obafemi doing his strut that he does, and you see the crowds and doing it too. You even have the kids, doing that as well. That right there, you can tell that Oba Femi is getting over with these crowds. With him, with that aura he's showing in WWE television right now, and on top of that, the whole Oba, Oba. So they score from the ring. Brock Lesnar, took a shot and gets him up to strike him in F5, but Oba Femi gets right out of it, pushes him to the ropes, closes him out of the ring, and Lesnar took one hell of a spill outside the ring, putting over Oba Femi of how dominant he can be. And that was it. He was backed up by Paul Heyman, and that was it for that segment. You didn't see Brock again or Oba Femi from the rest of the night. I could say the same with Paul Heyman, but that'll be a lie, and I'll get to that later on. So far, this was a pretty good opener here. Then we get a video package with Dominic Mysterio that he blames Finn Balor for costing the Intercontinental title, which is why he got what he deserved, getting kicked out of the Judgment Day, and he's going to focus on on Penta, which we'll get to that match later on, for the Intercontinental Championship. So we'll get to that later. Because Penta will be defending his WWE Intercontinental Championship against Penta, which it was supposed to happen last week, but due to something not being clear, Jerry Dom has had to take a week off in a way, after not be able to compete, which blessing in disguise because we got Penta versus Dragon Lee last week, and that was a great match. And now we're gonna see how this match ends up being because of Jerry Dom and Dominic. Jerry Dom and Penta. Yeah, Jerry Dom's gonna wrestle himself. No. We'll get that later though. Also, we get the Usos. We see Jey Uso say, "Hit my music. One word. Eat. Us." Yeah. And they did what they're eating. Before we get to the match, they show off something about Logan Paul. They're playing some flag football game during the weekend, and apparently Tom Brady was part of that. And Tom Brady got into it with Logan Paul, and I understand why that was done because Tom Brady at one point said to the WWE what comes to what your person does, saying that it's pretty cute what they do. What a piece of shit. So we get the Usos versus Division, Logan Paul and Austin Theory. No Paul Heyman, by the way. That's a tale there. Why Paul Heyman wasn't out there for these guys, but he was out there for Brock though. But the match happened. It was an alright match. But at one point you had a nice music playing because Logan Paul was going to cheat for Division. And the referee is distracted. Jey Uso was distracted, was there to make sure that nothing happens, whatever. And then LA Knight comes out of nowhere and takes out Logan Paul. And then, I'm sorry, it wasn't Jay, it was Jimmy who actually was next to the referee. Because I remember Austin Theory was laid out. One moment, folks. Sorry about that. Noise distraction. Which is why I had to mute it. So continue on. So LA Knight comes out and attacks Logan Paul, pushes him through the ring post, gets his brass knuckles to pass it to Jey Uso, so that the referee could be distracted by Jimmy Uso, so he can use it onto the Division. But Jey Uso, being the hothead he is, was the thickest grade, and he decided to knock out Austin Theory with the brass knuckles. Referee sees it, calls for a DQ, so division wins by disqualification. And then Jey Uso gets back in the ring. At that point, they left the ring, and Logan Paul was celebrating in the ring. Also, he gets knocked out too with the brass knuckles by Jey Uso, and I'll basically get for that one. So yeah, and by the way, the tag team titles was not on the line, but we'll get to more of that later. I'll bring it up right now. LA Knight and the Usos were backstage, talking to one another, and because of some discussions that was made that the Usos will defend their tag team titles next week against Division at Madison Square Garden. Which, by the way, next week on Raw, they're going to be in my neck of the woods, New York City, Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. So yeah, one more, folks. Hey guys, I'm back. Hope you can still hear me. Right now I'm gonna turn myself off camera, cause you know my sister just came in, and cause I was watching her kids and everything. But that's what I was gonna say here. So Ellen was basically talking to the Usos and saying to the Usos, especially because of Jey Uso, that he went over the line there and he started acting like Roman Reigns and sound like Roman Reigns, and especially just some heated things they were saying to one another. But I was trying to be a peacemaker and all that, and that's basically what happened with that. And now we move on to the next one. Then we get to Becky Lynch walking down to the ring because she's going to address AJ Lee. And basically Becky Lynch was talking about how fans are booing her instead of cheering for her, but instead they cheer for AJ Lee, and basically going off on AJ Lee for being away for 10 years, and she's sick of it, and she's sick of people cheering for someone like AJ Lee who's buried there. And Becky Lynch should be cheered because she's a woman with a family who and people who appreciates her, and she's got a daughter, a husband, and then she made the women's division what it is, and she killed the Divas division. Which is true, by the way. She was one of the women that killed the Divas division. Along with Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. And basically, Becky Lynch, saying because the women's Intercontinental title, she made that Intercontinental title what it is. And then all of a sudden, AJ comes out. AJ was not doing her usual skipping, and she ran into the ring, only for Becky Lynch to leave the ring to escape into the crowd. AJ gets the microphone, gets on the broadcast table, and AJ basically calls out Becky Lynch. Basically telling her, you took a good game when when you're attacking people from behind, but when they come face to face, all of a sudden you start running away. And which is true by the way, because of Becky Lynch's character. And actually, basically says, you in a way, if you want to shot the title, you're going to get it at WrestleMania. And then Becky Lynch starts covering, actually says too by the way, because Becky Lynch also has a microphone with her as she was running away. And then Becky Lynch says, to her to end it by saying, "Welcome to the big time." Basically saying, once she beats her and ends her, they'll never see her again. So that match is on with AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Now, it would be a better match, unlike their Elimination Chamber match. I mean, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, I should say, not match, because obviously AJ Lee was not in the Chamber match. but would be a better match on from Elimination Chamber. That's gonna be into WrestleMania. We shall see. So then we get to, and I already talked about the backstage segment with Jey Uso and the Usos and LA Knight. So there's no need to go back to that again. We had Grayson Waller with Kofi Kingston at ringside, taking on Javon Evans. And folks, I'm gonna keep myself off camera in case my sister comes in, whatever, because she doesn't want to be on camera, and also, just it's personal, privacy. So I'm gonna keep myself off camera and continue on with this. So Javon Evans and Grayson Waller, I thought had a very good match, with obviously Javon Evans getting the win over on Grayson Waller. And Grayson Waller was upset with Kofi Kingston for not getting involved. And Kofi was, basically saying, I don't want you to get disqualified. I want you to win fair and square. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. I guess it must be Grayson Waller getting cursed from last week. Facing Javon Evans for this week. So, but there you go. Then we get to Adam Pearce, the Raw general manager, and he came out of the trainer's room. I don't know why he was in the trainer's room. But I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the vision, I'm assuming. But Paul Heyman walks up to him and basically, Adam Pearce schedule a World Tag Team Championship match. Interested so. So Adam Pearce sets up a World Tag Team Championship match with the Usos defending it against the Vision next week. And Paul Heyman, he got what he wanted. He listened to what Pearce what he was considering in a way. But then Adam Pearce said to Paul Heyman, "Wait, where are you going? Didn't you say you was going to address Seth Rollins?" And basically that's what's going to be the idea what's happening. So all of a sudden it gets to Paul Heyman get ready to address Seth Rollins. But before we do that, they announced the WWE Hall of Fame that's coming up for WrestleMania weekend. Bad decision. If they're gonna do the same thing like they did last year, it's not gonna end well. Unfortunately, for the wrestlers that's gonna be sitting there sleeping again. But that's how they did it. That's how they're doing it. So, what do we know? So, because of Hall of Fame, though, so far you got AJ Styles, who is, I believe, is the real headliner for this Hall of Fame class of 2026, followed by Stephanie McMahon, Demolition, and into the celebrity wing. No, not Cyndi Lauper. You know, it should be Cyndi Lauper. Especially, I'm hearing some things that Cyndi Lauper is going to be doing in Las Vegas, Nevada. Instead, it's Dennis Rodman, who was a celebrity member of the NWO from WCW. And has a few matches too in WCW as well. But never in WWE though. But nevertheless, Dennis Rodman, a legend in the NBA of the Chicago Bulls. So yeah, there's your celebrity wing into the WWE Hall of Fame, class of 2026. Paul Heyman. He's looking to address Seth Rollins. Basically saying he's been having a bad night, he's not happy. And of all places to be unhappy and have a bad night is in Boston, Massachusetts. He talks about how Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker has been taken out and won't be back anytime soon. Brock Lesnar is pissed off. Logan Paul and Austin Theory have concussed. And Paul Heyman is all alone. And Paul Heyman, has, basically he's calling out, Seth Rollins, right? So he's calling him out, and Seth Rollins comes out, and Seth Rollins, is doing his usual, wearing the mask hooded, outfit that he's wearing. And Seth Rollins didn't say anything. He was just listening to Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman basically, running his mouth, and then Paul Heyman went too far by saying to Seth Rollins that, and before I get to what he said, he also said that he's got a restraining order. He's got a restraining order against Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins gets anywhere near Paul Heyman, that he will be arrested. Which is why we had, Boston's finest police officers there. There were maybe 4 of them out there, I think so. And basically Seth Rollins was going to leave. He's going into the crowd. And he's being led by the police force. And Paul Heyman kept on talking. Talking about about lawsuits and continue and then talk about going to jail, because he's a criminal, and then once he goes to jail and and be locked up, his wife will divorce him, and he should be married off by someone half of the locker room. And then he brought up his daughter, saying that his daughter will be put up into protective services, and Paul Heyman himself, he will adopt Seth Rollins' daughter. And at this point, Seth Rollins heard enough. He went after Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman threw a microphone at him, but it was not enough because Paul Heyman got beaten up by Seth Rollins for a bit, only for the police forces to get him and arrest him. And Pierce comes out there to try to calm things down. But at the end of the day, Seth Rollins was taken away in handcuffs. So Paul Heyman had Seth Rollins arrested, and that was it for that. The segment was alright. I thought it was alright. It got tense, but I thought it was alright. So finally, one of the segments of that I can enjoy, and I can say that I thought it was something that I can say it wasn't bad. So there you go. Then we get to the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Match itself, they had a very good tag team match here, and the winners were Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. So they won, and it's because Asuka was saved by Kairi Sane, where Bayley's trying to go for. Well, first Bayley went for a belly to belly on Asuka on the broadcast table, and she climbed up on the barricade to go for a belly elbow drop, but hit the broadcast table because Asuka got pulled out of the way by Kairi Sane, and then Lyra Valkyria did a double drop kick to both likely to Kairi, and bump into Oscar, and Oscar goes down, and Kyrie gets back in the ring by Lara Kyria. They're both legal, and Lara goes for her Nightwing and gets a 3 count in the win. So you're a winner, and they earn their opportunities to face the irresistible forces for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. So yes, Lara Baker and Bayley won. After the match, Lara and Bayley issue a challenge to the irresistible forces to meet them next week on Raw for the Women's Tag Team Championships at the world's most famous arena. And when Bayley said that, the crowds in Boston, Massachusetts, they booed. And I'm like, what are you booing for? It's the truth. It's been called for years. It's been called by not just by WWE, but by others have been saying this for years, that Madison Square Garden is the world's most famous arena. Because it's true. So they can boo that all they want, but the truth hurts, does it? And then Bayley says, just to get the fans happy, to cheer. They asked to cheer if you want Bayley and Lara to win, and they responded, had a little mixed response for that, and that was it. It was awkward. It was completely awkward there, but whatever. They show a real package of Tiffany Stratton, what comes to her NXT run. Basically, from becoming an NXT star, becoming a main roster in WWE. So, which is great, Bobby, because what have we been saying about Tiffany Stratton for someone who got into the wrestling business, kind of like with Bianca Belair. They got into the wrestling business and they started training, and they started picking up naturally what they could do in the ring. And then over time, they became successful in wrestling, even if it is on the WWE banner. But yeah. So it's a good thing that they point out someone like a Tiffany Stratton, who came from NXT, who came from nothing, who's a gymnastic, a bodybuilder, and then see where she's at right now. And she's a megastar in WWE, a superstar in a way. Kind of same with Bianca Belair, who did tracking and other sports as well. And didn't know anything about wrestling. Same thing with Tiffany Stratton. Didn't know anything about wrestling until they finally got into the wrestling business, and the rest is history with those two. But obviously, they only focus on Tiffany Stratton because it's Tiffy time. So there you go. We get to the Raw general manager, Adam Pearce. He was with, of all people, IShowSpeed. And I should mention this too, by the way. There was a segment they did earlier with Dragon Lee and Penta, and IShowSpeed was there as well. But all of a sudden, Danhausen shows up. Danhausen shows up and says to IShowSpeed, they should create a show called IShowSpeed Housing. And IShowSpeed denies it, declines it, whatever. And then when Danhausen did his catchphrase, the whole "you are cursed." You hear the crowds. There were, first of all, when Danhausen showed up on their screen, they all popped for Danhausen. And when Danhausen did his catchphrase, the whole "you are cursed," they said along with him, "You are cursed." And IShowSpeed was overselling the whole thing. He got cursed, and I'm like, fuck off. But I'm glad he got cursed though. I'm glad that IShowSpeed got cursed. So another cursed victim, courtesy of who is very nice and very evil, of Danhausen. Corey Rhodes will have Pat McAfee on his podcast show. The whole what you want to talk about on Wednesday. So there you go. Asuka is furious, is furious with, Kairi saying it's all her fault that they lost, and is very upset with Kairi saying, and then Asuka walks off, and then Io Sky shows up to go, to try to to let Kairi saying know that they have their differences, but it's wrong what Asuka is treating you, the way she's treating you, and then all of a sudden you hear Kyrie by Asuka. And Io, just stands there looking, helpless. All of a sudden, Raquel Rodriguez shows up and basically shows, Io Sky that, Kyrie doesn't want anything to do with you. Just like, basically saying in a way though, no one doesn't want to have anything to do with you. Not Kyrie Sane, she just want your help. Not Rhea Ripley, because she left her there while she went to SmackDown. And she's trying to, latch on to Stephanie McCare from last week. And then Io said, well, she will do it again just to, to make sure, you don't get the upper hand or something like that. I can't remember how she said it, but then Raquel Rodriguez basically challenges, Io Scott to a match for Raw next week, which is good, because that way it won't have to be a WrestleMania. Sorry, let's go. I burped. Excuse me, folks. So, as I was saying, so yeah, this is good. Raquel Rodriguez versus Io Sky next week on Raw, in the world's most famous arena, in Madison Square Garden. That way, we won't have to see a match between Raquel Rodriguez and Io Sky at WrestleMania. Especially after what they did, after what they did here in the segment with Io Sky is concerned with Kairi Sane, and I'm pretty sure Asuka probably we'll probably look at this footage later on, maybe, who knows. We're gonna see Io consulting Kairi, and then Io is probably is going to lose next week, by the way, by Asuka getting involved. But we shall see. That way we can have that match set up for Io Sky versus Asuka, where Kairi Sane is going to be in the middle there, and we'll see what happens from there to see how the storyline gets further, and being developed here to see what happens leading up to WrestleMania. So then get to Dirty Dom being accompanied by Liv Morgan, who is the 2026 Royal Rumble winner for the women's. So as they're making the entrance on stage, all of a sudden, Liv Morgan gets attacked out of nowhere, back behind by the women's world champion, Stephanie Redcare. And then Dominic, is trying to help, and then Stephanie, knocks him on his ass, and then Liv goes right after Stephanie Redcare, and they start fighting all the way into the gorilla position, where I'm pretty sure we saw triple bitch there. But forget them. But they continue fighting and everything. All of a sudden, they pull him away, and that was it. And then we come from commercial, and Dirty Dom is being played by JD McDonough, as she faces the WWE Intercontinental Champion, Penta, who's got 0 medal. And after making the ring introduction, because making a big match here in the middle of the ring, as Dominic Mysterio's name was being announced, and then Penta's name was going to be announced next. Penta gets a jump start onto Penta. I mean Dominic, Dirty Dom makes a jump start onto Penta and starts beating him up before the bell in the ring. And then once we got under control, the bell rang, and they start having the match. She's in the room. And they battle for a little bit, and then what's commercial? We come back for commercial. The match continues on. And they had a very good match, by the way. Dominic and Penta. And Dominic was given for a win here. especially with JD McDonough there being a factor of trying to get involved here. But then Finn Balor music plays, and Finn Balor was almost attacked by JD McDonough, but he took care of JD McDonough. As Dominic Mysterio was too a little distracted there, he focused on going for a frog splash, but Penta got his knees up, rolls up Dominic Mysterio, and gets the 3 count and the win. Still, in the Crown Champion is Penta. And then Finn Balor gets in the ring to attack Jerry Dawn. And Balor's going to take care of Jerry Dawn, but then JJ McDonough pulled out Dominic Mysterio. Only for Balor to go for a Tope Con Hilo onto both of them. Puts Dominic back in the ring. He's going to take care of Dominic a little more. JJ McDonough comes in. Only for Balor to take him out. And then Jerry Dawn makes it out. Goes into the aisleway. I mean, not aisleway. Into the crowd, to say. And also, JJ McDonough was in the ring. And Balor takes care of JJ McDonough. As Dominic Mysterio sees it, all happening. And basically what they're doing here, they're building up Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania. And the crowds were into Finn Balor, by the way. They were cheering for Finn Balor, which is good, because Finn Balor, he needs that type of reaction. Now that he's a babyface. So, that was the last match of the show. Because all of a sudden we get to the final segment of the show. And before we get... One more, folks. Alright, folks, back to what I was going to say here. Matches announced for next week for Raw on Netflix from Madison Square Garden in New York City. Brock Lesnar will return, and I'm pretty sure he's going to get a one-up on Obafemi. The Women's Tag Team Championship, Nia Jax and Last Legend, the Irresistible Forces versus Bayley and Lara Valkyria. Io Sky versus Raquel Rodriguez, and the World Tag Team Championships. The Usos defends it against The Vision in the New York City Street Fight. And there you go. Also goes to a great position where the World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk. One more, folks. Sorry, folks. So yeah, as I was saying, the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk comes out, but he was in Gorilla first though, and then Jimmy Uso was there. He said basically warn him to watch what you say. And then Punk comes out there, and basically talks about how Jimmy Uso says to watch what he says, because whatever CM Punk could say, it could obviously rattle some cages, get some stirred up in a way. So CM Punk talks about what happened last week on Raw. What comes to Roman Reigns, saying that he's old, And he says some other things too, as well. What comes to saying, is it great to feel alive in Boston, Massachusetts, or what? One of Punk's usual catchphrases he always says when it comes to any cities he goes to, he will say something like that. So, but he talks about also what comes to good night. Also, when it comes to Roman Reigns having the small family have permission to go after him, but not before he takes care of him at WrestleMania. You know, Roman Reigns said is saying that basically what CM Punk is addressing what Roman Reigns said from last week. We also talked about how Jey Uso has been in a warpath. You know, and then CM Punk, what comes to in the talk shit business, where they try to say and do things to each other to sell the big match or the big fight, I should say. And the one thing that's Roman said that pissed him off was that he called him old. And then Punk basically addresses the whole thing where he says his young boy does not get to disrespect him and call him old. And ask Boss Man Schuster, is he old? And then they chanted yes. And he says, if he said he wasn't, they know that he's lying. He is old, but he's not ashamed of it, and says hell no. And if he were ashamed, he'd be covering up the gray whiskers with Just for Men, like Roman Reigns has. I mean, if Punk, well, got into more detail of that when it comes to Roman Reigns, I would love to know exactly how he knows that about that. But then he says he's a middle aged and crazy like Terry Funk, and basically I'll just go through everything else that I said here. I'm not gonna go through everything else I said here as well. I'm going to say. All I'm gonna say is that basically Punk is gonna take this old man punch down Roman Reigns with one punch, and at WrestleMania this old man is gonna beat him, and then he's basically gonna beat him with the GTS and all that, and then he says he still got the job done, just ask Gunther and ask Jey Uso, who he beat before. And then once he said about Jey Uso comes out, and then CM Punk, as he's coming out, he's saying, he's probably going to yeet me to death, because 4 letters, 1 word, yeet. So Jey Uso comes out, and basically he's not happy with Punk keeps running his mouth, and Jimmy Uso comes out, and he tried to calm things down. Basically trying to calm things down in a way, and obviously, things were not being calmed down. As Jey Uso said that Roman Reigns is not out here to take care of this punk ass, and all of a sudden Roman Reigns comes out, and Roman Reigns, basically tells Jimmy Uso, his cousin, says, get you take care of your business, because of the tag team match, and then everything else, because he wants Jimmy to take Jey Uso out, because he's got some business to take care of with CM Punk. So, as Jimmy Uso is going to do that, Punk was opening his mouth, saying, he was saying some shit. Also, Jey Uso goes right to Punk, wanting to get his ass taken out by CM Punk, and Jimmy Uso goes after Punk for a bit, and then Roman Reigns took a shot as he gives him a Superman punch, and then that's when Jimmy Uso took out Jey Uso, and then Jey Uso told, before I could say what Jey Uso said, Roman Reigns was going to leave because he did his job there by punching out CM Punk, and you had officials out there like referees, securities, and Pierce was out there, and all of a sudden Jey Uso said, like, basically, so Roman Reigns to finish him off, finish him, take his ass out. So then Roman Reigns decided to take off his jacket, and then he got rid of his hairband, and he goes for his spear. Then he goes to beat up on Punk on the outside into a ring post, and then gives him a power bomb to a table, and then he picks him up a little bit and punches him, and then he leaves. Also, CM Punk is laughing I basically say he got to Roman. He got to Roman. As Roman Reigns leaves with the Usos. And that was the end of the show. Alright, folks. And that was, and yeah, so there you go. That was the end of the show. Now I'm gonna try for myself to put myself on camera, so I can get ready to send you off, folks. Just give me 1 moment, okay? There we go. So that was it for the Raw on Netflix review from March 23rd, 2026, and it's late. It's already March 24th of 2026, and there you go. So, that being said, and let me put myself on camera again because I forgot to do something that I usually always do when it comes to doing these type of wrestling reviews that haven't done for a long time. I'm gonna go through the 12-mile wrestling that we had on the show. So we had that tag team. Yeah, basically we had 2 tag team matches that happened. Yeah, 2 other matches that happened, but one was for a championship, and the other one that was basically so much of an exhibition between Javon Evans and Grayson Waller. And that was it. That was basically 4 matches we had. Been up for WrestleMania. Because we had stories that were being told during the show because it's been up for WrestleMania. So, now that's we want. If you want to do maybe 4 to 5 matches on a regular wrestling show, that's a good example of doing 4 matches for a wrestling show, not for a pay-per-view or PLE when it comes to WWE standard of wrestling events. When it comes to paying money to see something that that you want to be entertained with. So that's all we want to see from that one. But nevertheless, folks, that was the tomorrow. Excuse me. That was the tomorrow best. I should get my water. 1 moment, folks. Maybe get my water. Because I'm choking up a little bit now. But that'll pretty much do it for this review, folks. But Tomorrow Wrestling was 4 matches. And as far as the show was, to me, my overall rating for the show, just give me 1 moment. As I drink here. Thirsty. But, overall rating, I'll go for a 6 out of 10. That's a fair overall. I thought the show was a little bit better this week, especially after that last segment from last week. This week was a lot better with Roman Reigns beating up on CM Punk. And then you had the Oba Femi Brock Lesnar thing again, where Oba Femi got on the better of Brock Lesnar again, and Seth Rollins getting the better of Paul Heyman again. But nevertheless, can't remember what else. Yeah, some good matches too. So there was some good matches on the show, and the best, what's my favorite match on the show was Penta and Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom versus Penta for the Intercontinental title. That's so far. Even that match with Javon Evans and Grayson Waller, they both looked pretty good in the match. So two guys that came from NXT. So yeah, you can go wrong from there. But folks, there you go. And that being said, I'm going to end from here. I'm sorry about this review. It was not the way that I wanted to go. It should have gone the way that should have went, but my sister got home, so yeah, there you go. So that being said, I'm going to start heading out here. I'm going to head back home after this. So that being said, folks, thank you for watching. For it's the Natural Born Thriller saying peace on the street story view. Sorry, folks. I don't know what's going on with me. Let's try this again. Natural Born Thriller. Peace on the streets. For all you to be well. Stay safe. Take care of yourself for everything that's going on in the world. For I'm out here. That's for now. Later on tonight, we will do a watch along for WrestleMania 22. Yes. So be on the lookout for that one later on my stream. So on my channel. So I will bid you all an adieu with a goodbye and shout out to Twinkle Toes Make a Finger Bang because and good night bang. Feel the bang. That being said, folks, I'm gonna end from here now. So, folks, hope you enjoyed this raw review. Hopefully, we'll get more of this, but probably not next week. Because next week, I definitely want to do a watch along for that one. Because they're gonna be Madison Square Garden. Let's see how they do that show. Let's see it ends up being a lot better than this show. I'm not saying this show was bad. This show was alright. I thought it was pretty good. I'll say it's pretty good. I did enjoy myself watching Raw. So, because they could do a lot more. Yeah, they could do a lot more, but this was a lot better though. From last week. That's what I'm gonna say from there. With that being said, folks, take care of yourselves. In fact, I'll go for a 6.5 out of 10. Or better yet, I can't remember if what I gave it last week. So you know what? I'll go with a 7.5 out of 10. Ain't the best I can go for, but I'll go for 7.5 out of 10 for that one. For this week's Raw. With that being said, folks, we're heading on out here, so you all have a good night. I'll see you all later on tonight when it comes to the WrestleMania 22 watch along. In the meantime, folks, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace, God bless, and take care. Well, this was your Raw on Netflix review from March 23rd, 2026. For today is March 24th, 2026. Take care.